Notes. This is Elahn, and I have my wonderful co-host of the dotNET book study, Gabriel
Hi,
Emanuel.
hi, how are you doing?
I'm so happy that you're on with us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be here. How are you doing? It's been a while. It's been a while.
It
It's
has been
been
a
a
while.
couple of months. Yeah, right.
It's
I
been
hope
a
you're
lot of
doing
months,
good.
actually.
Yeah, it has. It has. I think our last show was last year, right? So it's
Yes.
been like a couple of months.
Yes, but with great stuff is born from a break, so from resting.
Yeah, yeah. I'm coming back
Yes.
stronger. Yeah.
Yes. And speaking of resting, that's kind of what we're building today, the REST API using .NET 6, I should add.
Yeah. Um, it's gonna be a series. So basically, we need to be ready for a lot of content. It's going to be a series. It's not
Yes.
just REST API. We're also going to be calling the REST API using a Blazor app, right? So um,
Yes.
stick with us and let's see how we can do this, right? Hands-on, discussion based, and all of that, right? So it's going to be an interesting series.
I'm super excited. So I'm going to share what I have on my screen. We have a little bit of a presentation, just a breakdown of what we're going to be discussing today and in this series as we build a REST API using .NET 6. So in this .NET book study series, we will discuss and build a REST API, which will be called by a Blazor WebAssembly. So that's something that we've already kind of just touched on a little bit.
Yeah.
So what you'll need Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio Community Edition, which is free. You can Google it. It'll be right there under the Microsoft Docs. We'll need an SQL server, Express database, and that's also free. However, I want to add that if you are a Mac user, this may not be available for you. Instead, you'll have to use Docker, and that's a little bit of what I was working on this morning before the stream is just getting Docker downloaded onto my laptop. And then if you're using Docker, you will use the Linux image, and I can include some of that information in the description box as well. Um, Next slide. So when done, you should understand the anatomy of an ASP.NET Core app, or I should say ASP.NET Core MVC API app. That's a mouthful. The
Yeah.
program and configuration, that was a lot. The program and configuration of an ASP.NET Core app and some updates made to the .NET 6 SDK.
The updates are
And
really
also,
going to be interesting, right? Because when I found out about
yes,
the updates and how they're making things easier, right, I was really quite
right.
interested.
I think we might have lost you for a bit, Gabriel, but that's okay. Um,
Oh,
you,
sorry about that.
no worries.
I mentioned that I was playing around with the updates, and I found some really interesting changes that are making life easier for us as developers, right? So I really want to play
Right.
around with those updates, and let's see if we can make that work.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, and then also when you are done, you should be able to use the MVC pattern, the controller and models to create a REST API. And that's something I've been exploring as well. It's very interesting. You will also use Entity Framework Core to perform CRUD operations. And for those who do not know what CRUD means, it's basically create, read, update, and delete. And we'll touch on that a little bit more later on in the stream. And here's a little bit of the application architecture.
Yeah, so we're going to be touching so we're going to be touching on a couple of these concepts while building the
Yes.
API. The
Yes.
controllers, we're going to be working with a program, details like data transfer objects. We're going to be see how this
Oh
can be
wow.
created and how they can be used. POCO entities, that's plain old C sharp um, code entities, right?
Right.
Probably going to be models, right? So we're going to be seeing how we
Yes.
can use this to, when building our APIs, we're going to be working with interfaces and services, and then we definitely will be needing our database context, and then our database itself using Microsoft SQL Server. So as we go, we'll be referring ourselves back to this architecture and seeing
Right.
how we're working and building this stuff. We're not going to be pretty fast. We're going to be as slow as possible. We're going to be discussing each concept, each
Right.
code, stuff that we're doing, so that we understand why we're doing these things. And if there are other options, we're going to be working on all of this as we go.
And I'm super excited because this is also pretty new to me as well. So I feel like I'm going to be learning along the way, and you'll be leading the discussion, and it's going to be a great discussion. So, and then okay, so once this API is complete, it will be called within the Blazor WebAssembly application, and you will learn how to call the API using HTTP client. So that's pretty much what we have for the presentation. Um, do you want to open up your code, Gabriel, and we can get this thing started?
All right, all right. So I am going to be sharing my screen.
Awesome. And then as we are getting that set up, do you want to talk about where this idea came from in terms of the .NET backend developer roadmap?
Oh yeah. So while we're thinking about bringing back the .NET book study, we're gathering thoughts as to what we will be building. So we figured that we
Right,
should build an API from scratch since the .NET 6 SDK is out. We should build an API from scratch using the .NET 6 SDK. And then what is a better way to build this than discussing about the roadmap for younger ones
right,
or newer ones. I think newer ones is the better word. Newer ones who are looking to learn .NET. So probably build an API that discusses on the roadmap. And then I found this beautiful roadmap made by
it's
Give Me a
gorgeous.
Second. It's really, really, really gorgeous.
When I
So
look at the
I
README
am
doc
sharing my
on,
screen. Please do bring up
okay, okay,
screen.
let's see if it pops up.
Oh,
I'm gonna
great.
remove it. Oh, wait, no, I think I see it now. Hold up. Oh, there it is. Had me scared for a little bit. I was like, where'd it go? Okay.
All right. So I found this beautiful roadmap by Nick. That's his name. I think on GitHub it goes by L4 Crash, right? So I figured, oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is really interesting. One could just follow this and be a good .NET developer, right? So
Yes.
we're just going to kind of make this an API where you could upload a roadmap, which is prod verbs now, or there should be verbs, right?
Right.
So CRUD creates yeah, I think
I
you
think,
lost me for a second there, right?
yeah, I think we lost you for a second.
I'm sorry about that. Right. So
No, no
I
worries
was
at all.
talking about the CRUD, right, which is create, read, upload, and delete. So using these principles, we're going to be creating the roadmap. We're going to be reading the
Are you there?
roadmap. We're going to fix, right? So that's the idea behind what we're going to be doing, right? So we're working with
Awesome.
this and trying to make all what we're seeing here into an API. And if you go through this, it says it's his opinion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
basically, if you want a more generic ASP.NET developer roadmap, you can check the one that is inspired here, which is from what was this? I'm not
Here,
so
I'm gonna
sure,
quickly
but
look at it on my end.
this is also another one that you could use, and then it's also linked to resources, right? So we could use any of this while creating our APIs, right?
Right.
And all right.
All
So
right.
when we're talking about what we're going to be needing, I opened the links to these resources. So if you're trying to get SQL Server for our database, you could go to this link. So all of the links will be dropped in the description by Elahn. So you could go through these links. If you're using a Windows machine or a Linux machine, you could get the installers from these links here. But then if you're using a Mac, sadly you have to run a Docker image to get that.
Yes.
Um,
Unfortunately.
then would also be needing Postman. Yeah, unfortunately you'd need to run a Docker image to get that. We'll also be needing Postman. Yeah, so Postman would be using to test our APIs before, you know, basically we need to test our APIs before consuming it using a Blazor app. So would either be using Postman or Insomnia. I'll be using Postman, but you could also use Insomnia. So they both do the same thing, right? But
Right.
basically I think I prefer using Postman, right? So you can go to postman.com to get
Okay.
the installers or insomnia.rest downloads to get that for insomnia. Then our test editor, we could use Visual Studio Code. So you could get the installers for our test editor from codes.visualstudio.com/download. And
Mm-hmm.
it runs on Windows 7, 8, 10, and 11. So whichever one suits your machine, you could get that. Then for a Linux machine, you could get this, and for a Mac machine, you could download from this installer. And then if you wish to use Visual Studio Community Edition, then you could go to
Mm-hmm.
visualstudio.microsoft.com/vs/community, and then you could get the installer from this link. So that's just like a brief introduction as to where you can get all of
Yes.
the resources that you'll be needing to follow us on this call.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for showing that.
I don't know if you have anything to add.
No. So, it seems like we are going to open VS
So,
Code on
Ellen,
your
do you have
end.
anything to add before I continue?
No. I think there might be a little bit of a delay.
Oh, oh, okay. Sorry about that then.
So take us through what you're doing right
All right,
now.
so
What
let's
is
continue
this
then.
that's open?
Yeah, so basically, I want to I think there is something I didn't touch, right? So give me a
Right.
second.
Okay.
We also would
Okay.
need
Yeah. Take your time.
the .NET SDK, right? We also would need the .NET SDK.
Oh.
So I'm just
Okay.
going to run through um dotNET 6 SDK. Right. So we'd also be needing .NET SDK. Um, Give me a
So what
second.
can we find within
Come up.
.NET
All right. It's coming up
SDK? Is
now.
that the same thing as a NuGet package? Um, or is it
Okay.
just a
Yeah.
different type of toolkit?
Microsoft.com. So .NET SDK that you could use to run .NET codes on your machine, right? And we're
Right.
supposed to get .NET 6 because that's the most
The most up to date?
recent. It's
Right.
also um, long. .NET 3.3.1 is also LCS, but
Okay.
.NET 6 is the most recent, right? So
Got it.
um, you could get the package depending on your machine. So if you're running a Windows machine, you could get a package here, a Linux machine or a Mac OS machine. So you definitely would need .NET 6 to be able
Okay.
to run .NET system, right? So so just to confirm that you already have .NET on your system, I'm going to bring up our command line. Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the command line to just confirm that you already have .NET on your system. I don't know.
Okay.
It's not. I don't know what's wrong. It's not. So I'm just going to bring it up from the start option then. So I'm going to be
Okay.
using PowerShell
It's
in that
acting a little
case.
wonky.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it. Okay, so
So,
let me
okay, so,
bring up PowerShell instead.
all right.
Um,
And at this step, are we just starting the application?
Sorry, can you say that again?
At this step, are we just starting the application?
So at this step, I want to confirm if we have .NET SDK installed on our PC, right?
Right.
So, and one way to confirm that is using the terminal to get a version of .NET we're running. However,
Okay.
it's not coming up sadly. So I'm looking for
Okay.
a better option to bring it up. Give me a second.
All right. Yeah, take your
Yeah.
time.
So
In the
I
meantime,
don't know what's wrong
um,
with.
I had a question. So, for like
Okay, it's up
with
now.
like
Finally,
oh,
let me bring it to.
okay. So, but do you know, like, with websites like Rapid API, and like, because I have an API in my website, and it's basically every time you click the refresh button on my website, there's a new inspirational quote. So, the API that I was using, is this like, are we building those type of APIs? Is there a different type of API?
Um, well, so yeah, there are different types of APIs or API architectural patterns, right? So we're working with REST APIs, but
Okay.
there are others. There is GraphQL, which is also very very new and very popular,
Right.
right? So there is SOAP, but we're working mainly with REST, which is really
Okay.
really interesting, and it's very also so I think REST stands for representational states transfer, right? So that's what we're
Right.
working with, right? So we already have command line open. So to check if we have .NET installed on our machine, we're just going to type this command .NET dash dash version, and then it's supposed to bring up the version that is installed on your machine.
Okay.
All right. So as you can see, we have 6.0.201. I don't know if you
Okay.
can see that on your end.
I think you might need to zoom in just a little bit.
Can you see the version we have on my machine? Can you see it?
I think you might need to zoom in a little bit, Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to try do that now. Um,
And thank you, Owele Osuka. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Thank you. I kind of had his comment um, up on the screen. Thank you for watching.
all right. Sadly, it's not going any bigger.
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't
no,
know.
no worries. So basically, at this point, we are seeing that the SDK is up to date, it's installed in our system, and it's ready to be used.
Yeah, and we're seeing the version also that's installed on the system.
Awesome.
All right. So then we could also try or play around with it. So to create like a new .NET project, there are like a lot of options. Um,
Okay.
so if I type in .NET new and press enter, it's going to show us a lot of options that we have in the SDK to create like a new project, right? To scaffold a new
Right.
project, we will be able to, scaffold. We could be able to scaffold an API, um, MVC, right? So right here we can see a web app, Razor. We could see Blazor server, which we're going to be talking about much later. Class library, the console application, WinForms, WPF, right? There are more, but this is just like an example of what we could create or scaffold using .NET, and then it could just give us like a sample code that would just run up and spin up and just test without even writing a simple code. That's one of the advantage of running a .NET app
Right.
using the .NET SDK. Okay, so I'm pretty sure everyone wants to see us code. So basically, I'm going to just jump right in.
Okay, great
I'm going to jump
idea.
right in. Yeah. So let's see. Let me. Okay, I'm going to be needing the command line again. So to create a new web API, we're going to be needing the command line. We could use Visual Studio Code, but definitely I would like to try this one. .NET
Okay.
new, um, .NET new web API. So .NET, is the way we can call .NET, saying that we want to use .NET. Then new is like spinning up a new project. Then what project are we spinning up? We're spinning up a web API, right? And then we
Hmm.
could add an extension method or an helper method dash o, which would now tell us, okay, what name are we planning to give this web API, right? So in this case,
Okay.
I would like to call it, let's see, a developer roadmap, right? I'm spelling that wrong.
That's
Developer
okay.
roadmap API. All right. All right. So using this syntax, this simple syntax, we're going to be spinning up a web API without writing any code, right? So if I press enter, it's going to be spinning that up, and then we can see that happening behind the scenes right here in this folder. Okay. Sadly, my machine is a bit slow. I don't know what's wrong with it. Right,
It's
but
cool.
let's just
I
give it a
feel
couple of
like
seconds.
a lot of machines are just slow. At least we're seeing this in real time just to, you know, allow people to have a more realistic expectation when it comes to doing these type of projects. Sometimes it takes a while to load, and it's just common.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's true. All right. So at least you see what is happening at every step of the way while we're working or while we're building.
Exactly.
Right. So it's all real time. It's all what you see is what you get. All right.
Exactly.
So
And
it's
and
as you can see. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and in order to code, sometimes you really just need to be patient and persistent. It will test your patience.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So as you can see, we were able to spin up all of this by just pressing or by just typing in that command.NET new web API dash O developer roadmap. So I'm just going to go back one step, and as you can see, our folder is called developer roadmap API, which is the name we've given to our API. And then right inside of that folder, we already have a lot of folders and files. We can see the controllers. Okay, why don't I just open this up using Visual Studio Code so that we can see what's happening right there in the code.
Okay.
So using code space period, it's saying, oh, okay, give me a second. I'm supposed to go into the directory. However, we've already done this. But using
Okay.
code space period, it's going to be opening up that directory in Visual Studio Code. So it's
Code
coming up
space
now.
period. Okay.
I'm going to minimize all of this.
Oh, I think you're cutting out. Thanks for watching, Trust.
Think when I'm spinning up a new app, it affects my internet connection. I don't know why that is, but we're back. All
Okay.
right, so this is our project right here in Visual Studio Code, which is one of the softwares that we advised that you download.
And
Like
I
it
like
on
VS Code a lot better than Visual Studio. I feel like Visual Studio, not to talk mess about Visual Studio, but I feel like it can be so heavy on the machine. It takes a while to load. I like VS Code because you click in
yeah.
and you get to
So if you want
coding.
to run, if
It's
you want to
very,
run
very
Visual Studio,
easy.
you should have a very stronger machine. You should have like a stronger machine, right? Your machine should probably
Right.
be a Core i5 minimum, running on 8 gig RAM or something, right? But Visual Studio Code is lightweight, and you could use this on any almost any machine, right? So let's
Okay.
let's use this because I think everyone would be
I like that.
happy to use this.
Yeah. VS Code
All
is
right,
just, it's a lot better for me. So.
great, great.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
Um,
that, guy. He says it's probably downloading a new update for VS Code. It seems like VS Code updates every single time I open it. Oh, that is the
it's
worst.
probably
I'm
downloading a
sorry
new update for
that
VS Code. It seems like
that's the worst. Okay, so we're click into the controllers, or what is the structure of what we're seeing here?
oh, okay. So, yeah. So this was what we got when we scaffolded a web API project. We had, and I think this is a good time to bring up that architecture. We had earlier on. Let's see.
Hmm.
Mm, okay, so I'm bringing. Okay, so while that is coming up, I wanted to point out that some of them diagram we already are seeing them here, even without writing any code. We have our
Hmm.
controllers um, where would be our controllers will be receiving the requests.
Hmm.
Basically, when you're sending a request, probably testing our APIs through Postman, or you're calling it through, will be receiving the request and then sending a response based on what the logic of that request is, right? So this is
Right.
one of the architectural stop points. Then we also have our program, and then this is one of the changes between .NET 6. If we were working with a .NET 5 web API, we would be having another file called startup.cs, right? I'm pretty sure you remember that, Ellen. Ellen, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was like, I was messaging our live chat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. So I was pointing out one of the differences between a .NET 5 web API and a .NET 6 web API, right?
Oh
I was
yeah,
mentioning
yeah.
that if we're working with a .NET 5 web API, we will be having another file here that's called startup.cs.
Startup,
But then
startup
right
CS
here with
file.
the .NET 6 web API, yeah.
And I think what it
So
is, and
right now
I might be
with
wrong
the .NET
about
6 web
this.
API, we do not have that. We only have the program.cs file where everything is starting up right here,
Yeah,
right? And as you can see, it's
I
quite
have some in
a
my
number of
notes.
codes, but we're going to be touching them little by little as we go. Um, we have this class. So let me if there are image which I had earlier on, but the diagram is not fully up. So right here is what we could call
Oh, I think we lost you. Oh no. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we lost Gabriel just for a moment, hopefully. And, what's so cool about what we're doing here is just the fact that we're streaming together from different sides of the globe. So, and we're using StreamYard. So, there may be a little bit of a lag between me talking and him talking. Hopefully, it's not that bad for the viewers, but what's so cool is that we're combining combining our love for .NET and C Sharp and our different perspectives from different parts of the globe to do this cool .NET book study. But one thing that we were discussing was that, oh wait, is he back? Gabriel, are you there?
Oh yeah, I am here. I thought you were. Are you there?
Okay, okay. Yes. So as I was saying, I think the thing with .NET 6 and the fact that there's no startup CS file is, and I may be wrong, but I think it has to do with the implicit usings and the global usings, which is what I find so cool about .NET 6. It's like you don't need to reiterate the namespace or the using directives. It's a lot more clean and simple. And then also something that's also new, and I learned this while watching YouTuber Patrick God. He's another resource when it comes to what we're doing today. Patrick God was talking about how there are no more configure services methods, which is super cool because it cleans it up a lot. That's what we want for C Sharp and .NET, is for it to be more clean, more easy to use, more accessible, especially for code newbies. So let's see if we have. Oh, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Trust. You are so amazing for watching us and just hanging out as we talk about something new, as I learn something new, and Gabriel does what he does best in teaching APIs. He's really great at that.
All right. Yeah. So I listened to you talking about some of the changes, in the
Yes.
.NET 6 program CS, right? And right, like you said, rightly, it's quite cleaner and really pretty simple. Just some methods and all of that. No very bulky methods like the configure services
Yeah,
and the rest
hate
of them,
bulky.
right? Really simple, really straightforward. And if you want to add services, we're going to be seeing all of that as we build, right? But if you want to add services, all you need to do is just build out the services and then you add whatever service you want to add. And it's quite simple working with .NET 6. Really interesting stuff going on here. Um, so I think we should test this. We should
Okay.
test this. We haven't tested it. So we just scaffolded this project and let's just test it out and see if it's going to run. I hope it doesn't mess up with my internet.
So
So
what are we expecting
so
to
I just
see
brought
when
up
we hit
now.
run?
Yeah, so when you the commands to run this is .NET run, and when you do that,
Yes.
it's supposed to build the projects and then run the projects. Then we're supposed to see the ports
Swagger.
where it's hosted on. It's, yeah, we're supposed to see the ports where it's hosted on, and then we could run that on our web, on our browser, and which would bring up Swagger because Swagger is already,
Okay.
added to our .NET API, and we do not need to do any configuration. It's already included in our API, and it's just going to be documented quite easily. So give me a second. Yeah, so I'm going to run this now.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to be cleaning up my machine before the next call because it's pretty
Okay.
slow.
I need to do the same.
Yeah, it's pretty slow. I think I have a lot of softwares running on it, and probably most of them I
Cash.
wouldn't be needing. So yeah, I need to clean up my machine before the next call. This is embarrassing.
No. I feel like that's just the nature of the game. It's that sometimes it's super slow, sometimes it's fast, sometimes it just breaks for no reason. It's just like we said before, it's about being
Yeah,
patient
yeah,
and being
yeah.
persistent.
That is true, and probably when that happens, you could just restart your system immediately, and
Right.
that would that would work, or that would fix whatever issues it has. But right now we're on a call, and we do not have the time to do that.
So yeah,
All right, so
let's see.
I just can you remove the comments so that the images would come
Yeah.
down a bit, or can you move the images to the side? Okay, great. So now we can see what's happening. So right now, as you can see, it's building the project, and then once it's done building successfully, it's going to run the project. When once it's done building successfully, it's going to run the project, and then it's going to show us what ports it's going to be running on, which for .NET it's going to be running on either port 5000 or port 5001.
Okay.
But let's see. So yeah, so it's still building, and that is why it's bringing up some of these extra folders.
I know once we see it, it'll be glorious.
Can't wait, right? Testing it, yeah. So what do this, and then let's see. Um, it's taking a while. This is really sad.
It's totally cool. At least like this is just like a realistic depiction of what it's like to code. We're not lying to the people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So yeah, sometimes this happens to you when you're coding, right? Your system or your machine just, it's like doing a lot at the same time, and I think I really need to clean it up, right? That would probably help out with this. This is bad.
Maybe how about we
This
try it
this
on
does
my
not really.
end and let's try it on
Um
my end and see if you are comfortable, or if not, we can stick up with your screen share as well. if it's easier that way.
Oh well. Okay. So what you are going to do is bring up a new.
Okay, and then it's almost like you're tutoring me.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So what I want you to do
Okay.
is bring up a new. Oh! Wow! It's live. It's up now. It's up
It's
now.
up to, of course, of course. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So let me come back up. Yes, I'm sharing now.
Looks like it's loading. Okay, let's see. Let's add it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did mention that the port it's supposed to run on is 5,000 or 5,001. However, that is for .NET 5 and .NET 3.1. I think we found yet another change in the .NET 6 SDK. So for .NET 6, it's going to be running on port 7258 and port 5291. Right? So the difference is
Yeah.
one is HTTP and the other one is HTTPS, right? So let's work with HTTP 5291 and let's test it out. Let's see what we have here. So we're testing our API using localhost, which says okay, we're testing our app is testing or running on our machine, and oh, okay, so I think we have
Oh,
to
oh.
redirect it
Swagger
ourselves.
slash swagger
Yeah,
slash index
yeah,
HTML, I think. I think that, because that was what
yes,
threw me
that is
off
correct.
yesterday.
Right, that is correct. So ordinarily, it's supposed to redirect to the Swagger homepage, but that is not happening right now. So if you come across this mistake or this error, don't be scared. All you need to do is just type in this slash swagger slash index.html and it will take you directly to the swagger documentation. And then we would see our API. And then we can also test it, right? We could test it
Hmm.
and see what we have right on the app. Yes, so this is our API documentation that was scaffolded from .NET without us writing any code. And remember,
Awesome.
this class, the weather forecast class, as you can see, it already has the methods, dates, temperature, summary, and temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius, right? And then we have just one method in our controller, which is this get method, and we could try
Hmm.
it out to see what happens when we execute this method. So right now it's going to go into controller, and let me just before we see what of that request is, I'm just going to bring this down and let's see what is happening here. So right here in our controller, we have this weather forecast um, controller, and if we check out this, check this URL, you can see that just after localhost slash localhost colon 7258, we have these endpoints weather forecasts, right? So, and that is what we have here, weather forecast controller, and we can see that our class is decorated by this route that says controller. So what that means is after your URL, which in our case is localhost slash 7258, yeah, then we have weather forecast. And then it's going to go into this controller and then look for the method, go into the method, check out the business logic, and then return to us what we have right here in the method. So in this method, we have this as our response to the requests, right? And then what is our response? Let's see right here. As you can see, we have an array of weather forecasts, right? So weather forecasts are objects, and then we have an array of weather forecasts. I think five, yeah, by our count, five. And then we could also see the status code 200 that says this is a successful request. And our API is working. Our API is working. Without writing
Awesome.
any codes, our API is working. However, this is not a real, real life API. I'm pretty sure if you want to build an API, you have business logic, business
Yeah.
requirements that you want. In our case, for this series of calls, our business requirements or our business logic is going to be based off of this .NET and developer roadmap. Um, I don't know what happened. Let's see.
So,
Let's see the other
okay, can
page.
I ask you a question, Gabriel?
Okay, it's going to be based. Yeah, please go ahead.
So when I look at that controller, and the fact that it's a weather forecast controller, obviously it's not the real weather, right? That method that was being ran in the controller was just a method that auto generates a
Yeah, 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 yeah.
series of weather forecasts, right? That's
Yes.
what
So it's
got
not
me
like a
when I
real
first learned
weather
Blazor.
forecast.
Right.
Yeah. So
I was like,
it's
oh,
more
this is the
like
real weather.
randomly randomly generated numbers, right? So each time you make that request, you're going to be getting different random numbers, right? So but
It's not the real
however,
weather.
like no, it's not. It's not. But however, there are weather APIs out there that you could use to get real weathers case just in case you're interested in doing that. There are so if you go to Rapid API, like you mentioned, there are a lot of tons of API right on there, and all you need to do is just search for the one that you want to play around with, and then play around with it. So there are a lot of weather forecast APIs out there, but this is just like something that was just sprung up so that we could have something to test our APIs, not the real
To
weather.
test out.
Um, yeah. And also we are at almost at 1 hour. So we've scheduled the
Yes.
calls to
Wow.
last one every session. So our next session, which would be in 2 weeks' time, we would start implementing our own, logic, our own models, our own calls, and all of that on the API. Changing this simple API to a whole methods and calls of APIs, right? So we're going to be having a lot of methods, not just get method. We're going to be having post methods. We're going to be having update methods and delete methods right on here. But this is going to be happening over a series of calls, starting
Yes.
from 2 weeks. So please stay with us and join us next 2 weeks when we'll start, putting codes on our API and, playing around with it and bringing up something really interesting. And really, also thank you so much, everyone, for your kind words. I was seeing the comments, and
Yes.
I'm really psyched. I'm really psyched about that. So basically, we're going to be bringing up something really interesting at the end of the day. So
Okay.
please join
Yes.
us as we continue. with this. Ellen, over to
So we
you, please.
actually, yeah, we actually have a question in the chat, Gabriel. And I
Oh,
can, and thank
okay.
you, Guy, for also mentioning that as well, so we don't forget. Let me pull it up. I'm not sure if I'm able to answer this. Let's just take a look at it, and hopefully I can answer it. Hopefully you can answer it. So Ronald asks, he says that he has a trouble understanding scope and singleton and transient. Maybe you know about that. Just thought I would ask. So, are you familiar
Oh,
with
all right.
that, Gabriel? Scope versus singleton? I kind of have a little bit, and it's almost like when to call the HTTP client, like how often to restart it. I don't know. That's just an idea I'm throwing
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Very,
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
fuzzy
yeah.
about that.
No, you're on the right track. You are on the right. So,
Awesome. Okay.
basically, when you're building your API, you're going to be having services. You're going to be having services where most of your business logic and um, most of your logics are going to be in there. So to register your service, you're going to be using some of this. Um, you're going to be using add scopes, add singleton, add transient, right? So now it's depending on how often you want, or depending on the service that you're registering in the. So in this case, you're going to be registering the service in your program.cs. Previously, you're going to be registering it in the start of the CS, but in this case, for the .NET 6, you're going to be registering it in the program.cs. And the difference between add scoped, add single thing, and add transient is like
Never heard
Ellen
of
said,
transient.
how often you're going to restart it, right? All right. So for add single thing, you're going to be creating an instance of that object once throughout the life cycle of that project, right? So once you're going to be creating an instance, right, and using that instance for every request and response, right? Um, so if you make a request right now, the first time that service is instantiated, it's not going to be killed. It's going to be used over and over and over again until the end
Over and
of
over again.
the until the end of the project, right? Until the end of the life cycle of the project. Then for add scopes, you're going to be instantiating that object once for every request, right? So if you make a request, you're going to be creating that object and then using that object for the request and the response. That same object that was instantiated, you're going to be using it for the request and the response. While for add transient, you're going to be instantiating it for every request and every response, right? So most times, that is why most times when you're registering like data contests files, you're supposed to be using add scopes because you want for each time you're calling the database for a request or for that class to be instantiated for the request and the response. If you're using add singleton, you're not going to be creating that. How do I put it now? That class, you're not going to be creating it for every request and response or
Okay.
for every request lifecycle. So that is the difference, right? It depends on how often you want the calls to be or to be instantiated and how often you want it to be killed. I hope that explains it. That's to the best of my knowledge. I'm pretty
Thank you
sure
so
if you
much
go
for that
to
breakdown.
you would see a better explanation of what is happening right.
Thank you so much
So
for that
thank you very
breakdown,
much.
Gabriel.
You're welcome.
Gabriel, do you want to tell people where they can reach you at?
Yeah, you could reach me on Twitter. My username on Twitter is underscore code is. CODEASE underscore code ace. You could reach me on Twitter using that handle.
Awesome. Okay. And if anybody wants to reach me, here's my website, elahn.codes.com. That website contains everything, my Twitter, my Instagram, GitHub, all that fun stuff. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us as we explore something at least new for me and as Gabriel leads us on that path. So I'm super excited for our next sessions. It's going to be really great. We're going to have a really great time. Any last words, Gabriel?
Oh, well, I'm also looking forward to our next session where we're going to be getting our hands dirty and adding, should I call it, flesh to our project, right? So, looking forward to our
Right.
next session.
Awesome, awesome. This has been super fun. Again, thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.